Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here. Today we're looking at another classic issue of Uncanny X-Men from Chris Claremont's unprecedented run. One of my favorite comic books of all time. I absolutely loved the X-Men growing up. Changed my life, really made me such a huge comic book fan. I loved everything X-Men. This is a classic issue from legendary comic book artist John Romita Jr.'s run. I mean, check out this fun cover, Young Dragons in Love, Uncanny X-Men 181. I believe this is just after they have returned from Secret Wars and are dumped off in Japan, and Lockheed meets another dragon. And what a fun cover. Cannot wait to share it with you guys. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and let's get right into it. Okay, so, I love this era of the X-Men. I was, like, so deeply into comics at this point. I love this cover so much. I have such fond memories of John Romita Jr.'s run. I have to say, like, I've said this a million times before, so I'll try to make it quick, but he followed Paul Smith, one of my all-time favorite X-Men artists. Cannot wait to get his run. But, going backwards. But, so I wasn't a huge fan of Jr.'s work at first, but then it grew on me, and I've, like, loved so many of his other projects. Like, I loved his Spider-Man, Daredevil, just, like, so many things. Like, Thor. Like, he's just such a great classic comic book artist and a great storyteller, so loving that. I love, like, oh, I wanted to say about this cover, I really love when they do different things with the title. I mean, obviously, if you're like a #1 issue or something, you don't want to obscure the title, but at 181, I think we're pretty safe that the Uncanny X-Men would not be canceled at this point. So you can obscure the title and still have it sellable. And so that's kind of fun. Imagine seeing, like, from the spinner rack, just the top part and the X-Men just sort of adorning the logo. I love it. And Xavier kind of standing off to the side. This is when he had, his body was cloned so he could now walk, again, which, I don't know, don't we kind of always want Xavier in a wheelchair? I mean, it just seemed, I mean, I know that sounds awful out of context, but it just seems so classic, and it sort of sets up a certain sort of dynamic with him and the team. You know what I mean? Like him wanting to be out in the field, but, you know, literally not being able to. But anyway, until he got that, like, flying, like, battleship wheelchair that Jim Lee gave him, which was crazy, right? Stan Lee presents the Uncanny X-Men. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, I love when, DC and Marvel poke at each other like that. I mean, that is so fun. Obviously, Superman. I love all these Japanese kids on this beautiful splash page. Such expressive faces and just fun. Like I said, storytelling is definitely J.R. Jr.'s strength, and he just captures kind of the awe and wonder of these kids potentially seeing Superman. But no, it's 100 times better than that. It's this huge dragon and this gorgeous double-page spread. And I love the effectiveness of this type of double-page spread because it's really only one panel, but then he's using the bottom of the page to sort of move the story forward without sacrificing some of the story. And let's face it, Chris Claremont's scripts were notoriously, like, dense and verbose, so you gotta, you know, economize here and there when you can with the art. Stan Lee presentation starring the Uncanny X-Men, Chris Claremont, writer, John Romita Jr. and Dan Green, artists. JR has worked with so many different anchors to varying degrees, and I really love the combination of Dan Green and JR Jr. on here. I think it's perfect for, like, a sort of superhero teen dynamic book. Tom Orzechowski, letterer, famous, legendary ex-letterer. Glenna Sween, colorist, famous, legendary ex-colorist. Louise Jones, famous, legendary ex-editor, and Louise Simonson, now famous writer. Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief, famous editor-in-chief. Anyway, controversial, yes. I love their little monster guidebook here, and, like, it has Hulk, it has, like, Godzilla, like, it is so much Gojira. It's Gojira? Gojira. I don't know the correct way. I think it's Gojira. I mean, everyone's like, everyone knows. Anyway, is that, I don't know. I just think it's fun. Anyway, so, like, this dragon just happens to be here, and then the X-Men are, like, teleported back from beyond our world and land in this field. I mean, could you imagine being these kids? This would look so cool. Like, if you want to adapt a movie, I don't know, whatever. Like, doesn't the X-Men just need, like, a continuing, like, let's just keep going forever, sort of series on Disney Plus? Like, not a miniseries, not... I mean, movies are great. I don't know, I feel like they should do both, because the X-Men has just such a rich history, and it's such an episodic soap opera with so many characters and nuances to be explored. Like, you know, a show is the way to go, in my opinion. Mohawk Storm, who doesn't love Mohawk Storm? And, you know, Lockheed, of course I love Lockheed. It's the great Kitty's, where is Kitty? No, okay, so I see Rogue, Nightcrawler, Colossus. Kitty didn't go to, no, Kitty did go to Secret Wars. Oh my gosh, I'm so confused about the, you know, haven't read this in a hot minute, you guys, so... it's so funny. Rogues had so many ugly different costumes, like, especially in the beginning. And this is definitely one of them. Like, I don't know, I kind of love it and kind of want to draw it. I've kind of been wanting to draw it just to sort of see what could be done with it. Like, is it a sign of the times or what? I know, we'll give her green boots and an orange thing so that she can have that sort of big jack-o'-lantern energy, I guess. I don't know. And then give her a mullet and slick it back. You know, I don't even know how I felt about that fashion at the time, but it is a little crazy. Mariko showing up. Is that Mariko? Of course it is. I think it is Mariko. It would have to be. I think. Right? Because, I mean, they're in Japan. Wolverine's here. Mariko lives here. It's his lover. Almost fiance sometimes. Like, this is after the botched wedding. Is this the first time he's seen her, perhaps? I love this. I love when flying characters... Like, oh, that's so interesting, because none of these... Like, there's so many flyers in comic books, and I would always want to be the flyer, you know what I mean? Like, ride my wind, bitches. Like, I'm Aurora, okay? Like, it was so rude when she lost her powers. I think we're building up to that. Only 4 issues away before... one of the biggest heartbreaks of my life. Damn you, Chris Claremont. But that's the sign of a true, like good writer. Like, who really loves his characters if they're, you know, willing to put them through such hell and, you know, put them on, like, realistic human journeys. Especially one like Aurora, where she always triumphs. But such a great character. I love this. This is such a, like, this speaks so much of J.R.J.R.'s great storytelling. Like, okay, we're in Japan and now there's a dragon and, like, buildings are busting up. Here comes Sunfire. And I love this panel of Xavier shielding himself. It's so funny because he just seems extra vulnerable, even though he's, like, in this new clone body. I don't know, just given his, you know, past as sort of like the, you know, the wheelchair-bound professor, I guess. The fashion is so funny. I don't know. You know, there is some crazy wackiness a little bit sometimes in John Romita Jr.'s art. Like I always thought it was interesting, this kind of effect on, what do you call it? Cyclops' normal, like, shades. This is such a great page here. A Storm. I love, like, I think that John Romita Jr. did a really great job of, like, drawing Storm using her powers. Like, giving it such, like, a, you know, because it's like you're controlling weather. Like, I feel like weather is kind of a vague aspect, you know, something to draw or whatever. So to get all the texture and the wind and, like, the sort of energy and the lightning, once again... Philip, are you watching? I need my digital upgrade because I know this art looks so much better, either digital or in person. And once again, Scott Dunbier. I always like to address people that I feel like could help the cause here, you know, because I assume everyone watches my channel. And why wouldn't they? At, like, hundreds of views per episode, I am, like, gotta be the most moderately watched channel going. Goddess. I mean, I feel like I set that up perfectly. This page is great. Like, this, like, she's just created a tornado. See, this is kind of the beauty of, but I feel like I'm getting too excited and talking over myself now, even though I'm the only one talking. But she, like, Chris Claremont had Aurora on this journey where she felt disconnected from the earth. And, like, that's why she got the mohawk. And that's why she got rid of the plants in her attic. And, like, she felt out of touch with, you know, nature. Arguably, like, this is why we need Life, Death 3. I know I think we sort of had it somewhere or whatever. But I just feel like, isn't Xavier kind of to blame? He always is. I always like to blame Xavier for everything. It is kind of his fault a lot. So anyway, but she, like, I feel like if she were more in touch with herself and her full goddess mode, she might not have lost control of her powers here. And that's kind of like one of the nuances and beauty of what Chris Claremont did with the unfolding of, you know, story beats and things like that. Building, story building, character building. When you have time and 17 years of monthly comic books of, you know, characters that you're allowed to sort of shape and mold. And that's why the X-Men, specifically Chris Claremont's X-Men, is and always will be one of the most important superhero franchises in comic book history. Get off your speech soapbox. Great panel of Wolverine there too. Oh my gosh, amazing, you know, spotting the blacks and use of negative space. Like, I think that's what I look at with new eyes when I look at this old stuff, is like, I just see the pure artistry of it all. And there is such artistry to it. Isn't it weird? Even without the sound effects, I can sometimes hear them. Love me a good Zipatone. I think it was interesting to sort of do this Zipatone and have it just be gray without the color of the field underneath. That would have been colored way differently today, I feel. So much fun. I love it. What a great dragon. Like the X-Men, just like this big dragon in Japan. Why not? And that was always kind of the fun of the X-Men too. I feel like, you know, with the longevity of Chris Claremont's tenure on the X-Men, he must have always been looking for ways to bring fresh ideas, things that the X-Men haven't done before, things that he hasn't written before. And, you know, it was win-win for everybody, don't you think? Such a great issue. Love the X-Men so much, specifically this run. I don't know, it just hits me in the feels. More great Chris Claremont foreshadowing here. It's my turn. Oh, Wolverine is going to answer the lettering page. Oh, that's so great. I wonder if this is Chris Claremont or the editor. Probably Chris. I think a lot of writers low-key answered their letters pages back in the day. And that feels like I don't know if he would trust anyone else talking in Wolverine's voice, but I could be wrong. Anyway, another classic issue, Uncanny X-Men 181, Young Dragons in Love, the X-Men in Japan, fresh from their return from Secret Wars, and it is so good. Such a fun book and a great memory. Beautiful art by John Romita Jr. and a classic tale by Chris Claremont. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and I will bring you more soon.